everybody, and welcome again to the History Boys. I am Christopher Whedon, and we got a lot of brutal hate mail after the last episode because we didn't make any jokes about like those old Gelin commercials with the Gelin souls.
Yeah,
I'm gelling like a felon.
Yeah,
and then I believe they say, "I'm gelling like Magellan."
Yeah. I like the way that they rhymed Gelin with Magellan.
The humor comes from the rhyme.
Yeah. That's the joke in that.
And I also think they're in a situation in which they normally would be very frustrated with each other, like a car crash, and they come up and they're like, I'm not mad at you at all because of the gel insoles that I have in my shoe.
Happen to be wearing
and
today.
I have created a verb to explain
Express how good I'm doing in this moment.
Just wait. A friend who I just met when I fucking T-boned the side of your car. I'm going to say some words that rhyme with that verb.
It's going to placate the situation.
And that's going to be a source of drama.
It's going to be a source of drama in this commercial about gel insoles.
You need a dramatic hook to get the audience in there, which, you know, by the way, TAHB. I think a lot of that hate mail, and by hate mail we mean, you know, it's the mail that we get. It's on the online mail. I think a lot of it was coming from Dr. Scholl's. We asked him. We said, "Hey, is this from the official Dr. Scholl's account?" And then just radio silence.
Yeah.
So who else is on this podcast?
Sorry.
My name is Zach Meck. I am a history boy, and you might also know me as the centerfold of Cartographer's Monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Cartographer's Monthly.
You could see my big juicy
Maps.
juicy thighs. Just
yeah,
you know,
and whatever map you have tattooed on there.
Detailed imagery of his cape of
good horn.
Good
Good Hope?
Horn or
Big Horn, Little
or,
Horn.
no,
that was
the
Battle
cape
of
of
Little Horn.
Little Horn.
Passage of No Hope is what
Christ.
he has it labeled as on his body's skin map.
And of course, I am Jerry Nash, your humble history boy. Thank you so much for listening. As always,
You got it, Jerry.
today we're continuing our series. This is going to be a 3-parter on the first circumnavigation of the globe.
Yeah,
Part 2.
all the way around.
We're doing it.
The first circumcision that ever took place on high seas.
Oy vey. That's all I have to say.
You hold the scalpel out and you let Poseidon do the work.
Yes.
That's the trick.
Let the roar of the waves guide your hand.
Yeah, the waves are calling the shots now. Last we left you, Magellan left the Canary Islands with the information that he was tipped off that the 2 Portuguese fleets were coming after him to stop him from going on this
Tick and
voyage.
clock.
And also that the seeds of mutiny had been planted in his crew.
Was he tipped off by a CI?
No, he was tipped off by his father-in-law.
Oh, well.
By Private Dick.
Yeah, I believe his name was Diego Barbosa.
which is
think that's his
Spanish
name.
for private dick.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, Magellan kept a strict authoritarian order over his 5 ships, and he would conceal the short-term plans from his crew and all the reasoning behind it.
Well, I bet they love that.
Yeah, that's the Portuguese way. That's sort of what you do. But no one likes that. So whenever he would do anything like shorten rationing, they thought he was doing it for arbitrary reasons.
For funsies.
Yeah.
For the love of the game.
You catch more flies with honey.
Then you do with
You get
vinegar?
more honey if you fly.
Okay.
Oh.
And-
That's how the saying goes.
And obviously,
And,
because they're on a ship, he couldn't fly.
And you don't get fooled again.
It's true.
Yeah. We've met the new boss. He's the same as the old boss or something.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. The first thing Magellan did was to take an unorthodox route southwest, hugging the northwestern coast of Africa instead of just going straight west. And this confused a lot of his captains, the Spanish captains, especially Juan Cartagena. And remember, Juan Cartagena is the illegitimate son of the very powerful Bishop Fonseca.
Oh, you're talking about his
so-
uncle. Stop. No.
Fonseca.
Yeah, and
His peepaw.
he was a very powerful captain under Magellan. And of course, Juan Cartagena, he didn't like that they weren't co-captains because Magellan got the fancy Captain General title, right?
Right.
So he had all of the authority, but Cartagena, again, still thinks that Magellan might be a Portuguese mole or something. He thinks he's more qualified than Magellan.
Now he should get that mole checked out.
Yeah.
Now, hugging the coast could be dangerous, and it did seem reckless to people that didn't know what was going on. Pretty much everyone else. So, they're thinking, what is this guy? Is he crazy? Is he trying to get us killed? What is he doing? Is he trying to throw the trip for the Portuguese?
Well, little what the crew knew is that Magellan was actually an avid surfer. And, he just wanted to hang 10, bro.
Just one last wave, man.
Yeah, Charlie don't surf.
Yeah, he just needed one last wave, and then he's going to get cleaned the next day.
Exactly. Goddamn right.
Now, Magellan was actually trying to foil the Portuguese by taking this route to try to, throw him off his trail, and he was actually trying to guard Spanish interests. So what they feared was actually the opposite was true. But they didn't know that, right? He didn't tell anybody.
Because, he ain't got no home back with the Portuguese.
No, he does not.
Fucking wrote this shit, Larry David. It's like, they don't got cell phones and they're not telling each other crucial information, so it's hijinks.
Indeed, yeah.
By the way, if they did make a movie and Larry David played Magellan, I would very much
I would
enjoy
watch
that.
that. I would
Same.
watch that.
Wait, how old is Magellan at this point?
He's 40.
So he's Larry David.
He's approaching 40.
Yeah, Larry David.
The 40-year-old Larry David.
Like 70 going on 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always cast older.
Yeah.
Is Abe Vigoda still alive?
Oh, no, he's playing a teenager on a CW show. And he is dead.
Well, it didn't stop Juan de Cartagena from instantly thumbing his nose at Magellan, saying, this is stupid that we're going this way. And, there was a couple of things that they all... it was traditional, where you would come every night, all the captains from all the ships would come over to the flagship and pay his respects to the Captain General, right? And then they would receive orders, right? Cartagena sent over a quartermaster instead of going himself. And the quartermaster actually refused to call him Captain General. He just called him Captain. And, Magellan is irked, and he goes, hey, man, you got to actually, adhere to my command. And he goes, well, next time, hey, if you're not cool with that, I'll just send a page. And how are you going to like that? And
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah, so he kept doing that kind of thing. And Magellan's sort of slowly losing control already.
Yeah.
They just started.
He's like, I need change for a 1, and he's like, look somewhere else. He's like, you're the quartermaster. You got the belt with all the change in it.
There was an arcade on Magellan's
No.
ship, and he was out on the fucking Iron Maiden pinball machine and needing some more quarters.
Well, let's be real. It was all pinball machines back then. They hadn't invented the arcade games yet.
Yeah,
so.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
So once they did go into the Atlantic, and the Atlantic is rough. It's stormy, and it's rough business.
It sucks.
It sucks. We sort of talked about this in the last one, but the merchants on Canary Island and Seville had cheated them out of some of their supplies. So he lessened rations during the crossing of the Atlantic, and no one really knew why. So, talk of mutiny is starting to, bubble up a little bit. Even after, one of the storms, they witnessed St. Elmo's fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they took it as a sign that Magellan was singled out for some special destiny.
Oh, good. Because I would have taken it as a sign that he's got to go. You could really go either way.
They got St. Elmo's protection, right? That's kind of what it meant, right?
Yeah, the mutineers got his protection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, they look into the sky, they see the whole Brat Pack. They got Molly Ringwald, they got Anthony Michael Hall, they got Jed Nelson, and they know a young Robert Downey Jr. perhaps, and they know that they have their protection, and then if they have their protection, they have the protection of John Hughes,
Which is really what matters.
Yeah, that's what
on the
matters.
high seas.
On the high seas,
Right.
So with Cartagena being outwardly subordinate and with morale at an all-time low, and again, they're just starting, Magellan would have to prove to his crew that he was in control and that his word was law. Magellan and his brother-in-law, Duarte Barbosa, and his cousin, Alvaro de Mesquita, they...
Skeeter.
yeah,
They boarded Cartagena's boat, the San Antonio, and they were going to have a meeting there just with all the captains.
Meeting of the fists.
Yeah.
On the San Antone.
San Antone. Okay, so there was Luis de Mendoza, and he was the captain of the Victoria.
Okay.
There was Gaspar de Quesada.
Okay.
He was the captain of the Concepcion.
I imagine him being barrel-chested.
I get it.
Then there was so there's two pronunciations. I'm gonna go with this pronunciation because João Serrano is kind of hard to say. So I'm gonna go with Juan Serrano. It's much easier for me to say.
Like the pepper. He was nice and
Yeah.
spicy.
Smoky,
He was
spicy.
He was the captain of the Santiago.
Oh.
Ooh, that's the ship with all the romance.
I love boat. You got Isaac.
And the rest?
Is there a bartender named Isaac?
Yeah.
Well, Cartagena was making it clear that he wasn't going to listen to any more of Magellan's orders. So Magellan got pissed off, and he grabbed Cartagena by the back of his shirt, and he yelled like, "Traitor! This is mutiny! You're under arrest in the king's name!" You know. And Cartagena shouted to the other captains, and he goes like, "Stab him right now!" So it sort of proved to Magellan that the rest of the captains are also in on some sort of mutinous plot, and they lost their nerve, and they didn't stab him. So they took Cartagena to the deck of the ship and put him in stocks. And these stocks are sort of like used for common sailors, minor infractions to put you in there. It goes over your legs, so you can't move. Right, you're sitting down. Right.
Wait, so it wasn't like the head and arm stocks?
No,
It was
leg stocks.
So he was basically gonna get a fucking pedicure or a foot massage?
Yeah.
Shoe shine.
That's the
But you
word.
ain't got no shoes on.
They're gonna shine your
Not
feet,
today.
brother.
Jeez. Why would they want to shine your feet?
I don't know, put some grease on there.
You don't got any calluses left by the time they're done, and then the hot sun gets your feet really. You get real bad sunburns because you don't have any calluses on your feet,
Yeah.
and it hurts.
It doesn't protect against the splinters.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Not to mention, they got the aloe vera, and they're holding it just out of reach.
No chance of this.
It's like this could end it all now. So Magellan, of course, he removed Cartagena from command of the San Antonio. He put in an accountant at first, a man named Dacoca at first.
An accountant?
Yeah.
He's
Nerd.
crunching numbers.
He wasn't very experienced, turns out. And
An
Cartagena
accounting or
at
captaining?
captaining a ship. And
He's a great accountant, though.
Cartagena was incensed by that he would be,
It's like, I'm
somebody-
going to promote the worst guy here to make you feel
Yeah.
real upset.
And the San Antonio, let's remember, is the biggest ship.
Yeah.
With it carries most of the supplies. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Must have felt like a turd. He's like, we were gonna stab Magellan, but everybody fucking turned their back on me, and now I'm getting my shoes shined while this fucking bean counter's running my ship.
I feel like a prized asshole.
Right? Guy I used to give swirlies to.
And I will again if they get out of these stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're dealing with some pretty rough seas, and eating hardtack, because you don't cook when the sea's rough. So you're drinking, your allotment of wine, it's rationed, and having your allotment of cold hardtack. And that's all you're eating during these rough days.
Be better if it was hard-boiled eggs.
But it wasn't long after this incident with Cartagena that another crisis arose for Magellan to deal with. Victoria's bosun, and it's actually spelled boatswain.
Oh, yeah.
It's bosun. Anyway, somebody might correct me on this, but the way I heard it pronounced was bosun.
I know who will correct you on this.
Yeah. Our Navy listeners, we have several. He's kind of a deck boss, guy in charge of,
The boss.
you go here on the deck, right? In loose terminology. Anyway.
He was the stage manager of the boat.
Yeah, he was the bosun. His name was Antonio Salamon. He was caught in the act of sodomizing a cabin boy named Antonio Genovese. They knew homosexuality during long sea voyages was sort of an inevitability.
Yeah.
It would just happen. It was illegal amongst their kings and whatnot, but at sea, they kind of looked the other way. You know what I mean? Most of them. In Spain at the time, it was illegal. It was a crime against nature in Spain at the time. Mm-hmm. And Magellan was kind of put in the impossible position of, well, as a Portuguese man, I have to uphold the king's Spanish laws. So, there was a trial held.
But in Portugal, it's just free for all.
No, but, he can't let on to the other Spanish captains that he's not totally on board
Team
with
player.
The Spanish rule, right? So he has to really walk that Spanish line.
So he wasn't like wagging his Portuguese sausage at people or anything like that?
No. And this was, let's keep in mind, this was the era of the Spanish Inquisition. And
nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
So there were no circumcisions.
No. Antonio Salamon was sentenced to death. To death. By strangulation. But it was to be carried out a couple of months later.
And not in the good way like he likes.
I mean, he was still rock hard.
Through the whole trial.
If you're gonna kill him, just let him finish.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh, now I gotta stand here. The cabin boy Antonio Genovese was spared, probably because he was most likely a teenager. Mm-hmm. He was spared, but even then, Magellan's crew thought it was a little harsh to do that sort of a thing. There was no question who was in charge now. You know what I mean? Like, it's serious stuff that this guy's doing. He's bringing the hammer down.
It's like you guys fucked up with all that mutiny talk.
Yeah.
He's like, you're gonna bring the hammer down, now I gotta bring the hammer down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me because earlier on, I would have thought that he would have pulled like an L. Ron Hubbard, like during like his whole Sea Org shit, and that would be keel haul motherfuckers who look at him the wrong way, but keep them alive, bring them back up, and be like, don't do that again, otherwise you're going back overboard.
Barnacles were a lot sharper back then.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you'll see just sort of what kind of goes down with the crew as we move on in this episode, and Magellan's swift and brutal justice that he would carry out on people. But anyway, the first stop in the New World was supposed to be Guanabara Bay. Do you know where that is?
Not at all.
The Caribbean.
No, it is modern-day Rio de Janeiro.
Oh. Ooh, Carnival!
Before this, Magellan actually promoted a pilot to his ship on the Trinidad who had been there before, who had been to Rio before, let's just say. And he's like, yeah, man, I know the way, and... of course, they're all very good navigators, although they don't really know the world as well yet, so they have that to deal with. They were blown off course to way north of Guanabara Bay.
Well, that pilot's never going to make it to a full season order now. Cancelled.
And the place that they ended up at was Cabo de Santo Agostino, which is Cape St. Augustine in English. And they kind of puzzled. They were like, why in the hell did we end up so north of where we wanted to be? They didn't really know.
We blew it.
Yeah. They didn't really know, but they quickly just sort of resupplied and then kept going south, hugging the coast. And by December 13th, 1519, the Armada de Molucca arrived in Rio de Janeiro. They coincidentally arrived during the first rain in like a long time for that place, which ended like a drought, and it gave the local Guarani Indians, it gave them the idea that they either had supernatural powers, or they were sent from a god, or that they themselves were gods. Let's just take a step back from that real quick, though. We know this from European sources. So this is what the Europeans are telling us, right? We don't know any of this for sure, right?
The Euros think that they're the fucking Blues Brothers.
Yeah. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't have any account of what happened to them during this entire encounter or any encounter with Magellan. We don't have any of the indigenous accounts. So it's impossible to really know. So don't take their word as gospel.
So their journals are like, we showed up, it was raining, their chieftain came out and was like, you guys are gods. You're making everything good. The crops are growing back. We have water to drink. This girl's just spinning round and round. She's not like the others. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Her and I did it. Period.
You're not far off.
Is this Garden State?
It's the Magellan version of Garden State.
That's what Garden State is based on.
It's the first circumnavigation of the globe. Yes.
Yeah. So the Magellan's pilot was actually reunited with his Guarani wife and his son. He was 7 years old because it was 7 years ago when he was there. So he met his 7-year-old son. He gave him a Spanish name, which is ridiculous. And he asked Magellan, like, "Hey, can my kid come with us?" And Magellan's like, "Yeah,
Sure.
Hell yeah.
But like, you know,
this trip needs is more children.
His wife though was like, "Dude, you can't just show up after 7 years and just take my son."
She's never seen him again.
And so the pilot's like, "Hey Magellan, what if I take my wife too? You know, we take them both." And Magellan's like, "No women on board ever." So
He's like, "Do you like Sharon?"
Yeah.
so, yeah.
He's like, "Oh no, wait." He's like, "Her name's not Sharon." He's like, "No, do you like sharing?"
yeah.
It's like, "Oh."
What we're trying to say is, do you have a certain kind of fetish
Yeah.
that ends in olding?
Because it'll gonna happen when the high seas, you know.
They're all videotaping it. You know
It
it.
a gonna happen. Straight from Magellan's mouth. It a gonna happen. And of course, they started trading and bartering immediately. And the Europeans were amazed by what they could get for what they perceived to be so little. So, like, they had all these little metal objects, nails, bells, knives, combs, like, things like this that they don't have.
Pewter schnauzers.
Did they have
Monopoly
those-
pieces. Let's be clear. They
I
have
was
a bunch
like,
of
did they have those
Monopoly.
combs that were like switchblades?
That'd be dope.
Dude, I used to have one of those. They're pretty sweet.
I still have one. It's cool.
Yeah, so you can threaten people and then take.
And then comb my hair.
yeah.
It's really nonchalant. But yeah, anything metal, really. And yeah, small bells
Did they
were
love
something that they used all the time for trading. But yeah, anything metal. The Guarani also joined them for mass. And I guess they were, you know, the whole time they got their hands in the air and they're like, "This is pretty cool." You know, they seem pretty apt to be converted, you know, because, you know, there's priests on board and that's their job. They convert indigenous people, you know. Sometimes, like, by fire hose, it seems, you know. I'm not sure how that all counts, you know, but hey, you know.
But does any of it really count?
No, it doesn't. None of it matters. But another thing that they could get for their cheap German knives, they're women.
Ooh.
So they came running out, stark naked, you know, to the crew, and
women
they were
did.
like, "Oh, mama." And so they figured out that the women were for sale, and you could buy a couple of them with a knife or a comb or whatever, except for their wives, the Guarani wives. They would not part with their wives, which is hilarious because, like, Antonio Pigafetta, the person that is sort of writing all this down, I mean, it's implied he's like, they would not let us have their wives. So it's like, y'all tried to get their wives too? You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it didn't help that Pigafetta looked exactly like Porco Rosso.
How about the wines? It's like, fucking, God, why do we bring this guy? He's so fucking gross.
Or
Good thing they're for sale, or else none of these chicks would talk to us.
I thought of Blues Brothers. How much for the women?
Yeah.
Like, as Antonio Pigafetta.
Yeah.
But what had ended up happening is while they were staying there, of course, there were wild, moonlit orgies on the beach
Hell yeah.
with the women of the Guarani. And
Best spring break ever.
Magellan's brother-in-law, Barbosa, he was like, "I'm staying.
Yeah.
I'm staying."
This place is awesome.
Yeah.
I knew it was worth it to bring all these knives with me.
Yeah. Magellan got word of it, and they had to, like, drag him back to the ship. He was like, "No!" Like, drug him back to the ship, and they actually put him in fetters. So he had to sit on the ship and watch everybody else partake in the orgies, Well, he was like, God damn it.
Were his hands free, though?
Probably.
There you go.
But even still, you know that the soundtrack in his head is just like a slowed down, like classical rendition of Belinda Carlisle's "Heaven Is a Place on Earth."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but it's in a minor key, so everything's really sad, and he's just slow jerking it. Like, I could have been there. So close.
He's like, turn your orgy to face me better.
Get out of the way.
I can only see just dude butt and balls slap, slap, slap.
Antonio Pigafetta heavily implies that he totally took part in that, but Magellan, we know, didn't. I don't know why, but he was like, no, I have more high-minded things to look after. Again, he's a single-minded dude. He wants to find the Strait, and he wants to get to the Spice Islands. He has to find out whether or not they're in Spanish waters or not. And that's all he's thinking about.
He's like, boys, you guys go have fun. You know what I find erotic is this compass. Always points
It's a
north.
great navigator.
It
Yeah,
always has an erection in many ways.
it always points north. Wink.
Well, no, that is a great thing though for Magellan. Like, talk about a good morale booster for his entire crew. That we're just like, this guy fucking sucks, and we're gonna mutiny against him.
Well, the thing is when they were leaving, Magellan goes, all right, we're searching every boat, top to bottom, for female stowaways. And he found a few. He's like, get them back on the, get them out of here.
Talk about the walk of shame.
Yeah.
That's
The ultimate walk of shame right there.
And as they left, even, some of the women followed them in boats, begging them to come back.
Aw.
And stay forever.
They're in love.
Baby, come back! Must be.
Don't worry, we'll be back for our inevitable sons in 7 years.
Yeah.
And daughters.
In a baker's dozen a year, alright? Yeah. Yeah, December 27th, 1519 is when they left. But in the midst of all this, on December 20th, the execution of Antonio Salamon had to be carried out. And a crew member put on a hood to disguise his identity, and he strangled him.
That's brutal.
It is. And there is in full view of everyone, there's two accounts for what happened to Antonio Genovese, the cabin boy. Either he was such an object of scorn amongst the crew that he threw himself off the ship, and he was never seen again. Another one is that he was such a object of scorn for the crew that they threw him over.
I believe
He was
that
never
one.
seen again.
They're like, we're sick of your tight little butthole tempting all of us. Overboard with you.
Whoa.
Hey, them, not us.
Yeah, they did it. I didn't do it. I'm jumping to some conclusions here, but I see
the writing on the wall.
I had some momentum, so I just figured I'd go with it.
So, on January 11th, 1520, they arrived at Rio de la Plata. Do you know where Rio de la Plata is?
Argentina.
Yeah.
That's what's...
You know that like crazy bay there? There's Argentina on one side and then Uruguay on another side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Rio de la Plata.
Ah.
And the thing was they thought it was an inlet. They thought it could be the
They were
strait.
stoked.
They thought it was the strait.
Got a little ways to go, brother.
Yeah.
Turns out it was more of a flush.
Well, it turns out it leads to a river, and they didn't know that. But they did this thing where they sounded the water, where they're checking the depth of how deep it is, and it got more shallow and shallow, and they're like, I don't think this is it. And some people were like, we got to keep checking, and so they carefully did it, and it turns out.
I don't know, boss. There's people drinking out of this ocean. I can look down and see. I just dipping his cup in the water. He looks up and smiles.
Cheers.
They actually saw some natives on the shore, and I don't know why they did this, but they armed themselves, got into a couple of longboats, went out there, and then like chased them away because they were like armed, and they were like, they ran away from us, and it's like, well, yeah, you ran at them with weapons, you know. But like a couple of days after that, or like the next day or something like that, they started rowing a boat towards the Trinidad. There was clearly like a chief guy there he had like a feather headdress. He had a bunch of animal skins on, and he didn't look afraid.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this should be a friendly, encounter. And they showed him all these, like, metal things. They're like, you like metal stuff?
Oh.
And he's like, I know metal stuff. I have some metal stuff.
Tons of metal stuff at home. Like, don't ask to see it. It's in a special box I can't show it to you, but I've seen. This isn't amazing.
Plenty
to me
of metal
at all.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, dude, check it out. I actually do have the first Judas Priest record on first print vinyl.
Yeah.
Also, check out the sweet new slammer I got.
It's a Spawn slammer.
And they're like,
Super metal.
and they're like, hey, let's trade. And he's like, okay. And he leaves, and he never comes back. And they're like, we were ready to fight. We were ready to have orgies. We were ready to convert people to Christianity. But we weren't ready to be snubbed.
Yeah, that's rude. We got shushed us.
Yeah.
So they were more than willing to stab at them physically, mentally, and religiously.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and emotionally.
There's no reason to be rude.
And in all cases, they have the knives for it.
Mm-hmm.
And their
Little
penises.
bells.
Bells.
Yeah. And Serrano, he was right. He was like, I don't think this is it. I don't think... But Serrano, he didn't think there was a strait. Remember, most people thought that the land went all the way from pole to pole. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't think there is a strait. But he's like, I don't think this is it either.
It's more of a spectrum.
So they left Rio de la Plata on February 3rd. So from January 11th to February 3rd, it was just this waste of time looking in this bay. So they wasted like a whole month on just that, So now they're behind schedule,
Mm.
And you got those boats behind you,
Try backing up all those guys, huh?
Yeah.
Must have been a pain in the ass for the fucking timekeepers.
Oh yeah, they're like, turning this thing over. I bet a half an hour gets real short if you have to turn it over every half hour.
Mm.
Do you think they're ever eating lunch and they realize they left the hourglass in a different part of the ship and they're like, and it's like fucking Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
They start flipping it backwards to try to get backward in time.
I'm trying to do it backwards to get the time back, and then I got to do it forward to get the time. I'm just trying to reset this clock here.
It's like a. What is that song? That
ow.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking of Day Bow Bow, but
well, is that
one.
the song?
No,
Day Bow Bow is
the Day Bow Bow.
That's right.
Me and Jerry are thinking about the same
Yes,
song.
you
Yeah,
are,
it's the one where they're all running home or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's the principal and his Ferris. And then for some reason, the timekeeper jumps, turns the hourglass at the nick of time, and then slides into bed, puts a thermometer on, and and John comes in and he's like,
I'm still sick.
everything looks good. Closes the door and he's like,
You can see the last grain of sand go down the. So they continued south. Now they're in sub-equatorial
New Guinea.
South America.
Oh, well.
South America. They sailed for 8 weeks, hugging the coast. They only sailed on daytime, and they anchored at night a little bit offshore, and to keep from being swept out or being dashed against the seas, they had cables tied to the land, right? So they could go far enough out and then tie themselves to the land, right? So they could kind of stay there. And then when it was daytime again, they would continue. So it was slow going.
So during the nighttime, it's you're really tired, and during the day when you're like, I'm gonna ride that sweet zip line to the shore, they're like, no, we're fucking pulling up anchor. We already lost what did you say, a
month.
a month. Yeah, we got to keep going. It's but every night, man, the zip line goes out. It looks super sick. I brought my zip lining belt.
Zip lining belt.
Yeah, Magellan said there was going to be fucking excursions on this cruise.
Yeah, it's like the fire festival or something. Yeah. It's like the food sucks.
Yeah.
Well, to me, Magellan should have established that it's tour rules. Look, once your time off, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But bus call is at this time, and if you miss the boat, you miss the fucking boat, buddy.
Yeah.
They got those Portuguese boats filled with vice principals coming for them.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's back to the Ferris Bueller joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'll get it.
So again, 8 weeks, long time, and they're hitting massive sub-equatorial squalls, and like this is during a time where the weather's starting to turn bad in this area, and they realized, they were like, we got a winter here, man. We got a winter, and then continue in spring is what we need to do. So they went to a place called Port St. Julian, and they were going to spend winter there. They got there on March 31st, 1520. And the thing is the most holy day of the year was the next day, April 1st.
April Fool's Day. The most holy day of the year.
Easter.
Oh. Did they move it?
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But no, Easter.
Jesus can move that big-ass boulder, get out of that cave, then
And
we
go,
can move
April Fools!
Yeah.
Wasn't even dead.
Yeah. It wasn't even dead. Gotcha. Then we can move the day later, but right now it's April 1st.
It's always April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're riding with me.
But at this point, there are serious murmurings of mutiny once again. Again, 8 weeks. Haven't found shit. They don't believe that there's a strait that leads through this. And again, Magellan isn't telling them anything, so they're just like...
It's like his main thing.
Yeah, and so it really eats at you over that time. You know, I don't think it's there, and everyone starts going like, yeah, you know. So, on Easter, Magellan went ashore, and he invited his captains to come and join him for their mass, Easter Mass. Only Mendoza joined him. And he goes, hey, eat at my table. And Mendoza goes, no. And so Magellan's like, well, he's in on the plot.
Yeah.
You know.
So I see him sitting over there in the corner, mean-mugging me, eating all by himself.
Yeah. Serrano actually was the only one that remained neutral. He was the captain of Santiago, remember? He was the only one that remained neutral. Not totally for Magellan, but not for mutineers, right? And the thing is remember when I said they put the accountant in charge of San Antonio? Well, Magellan changed that to his cousin, Alvaro de Mesquita.
Skeet.
So he replaced him. Okay, so not the accountant's cousin.
No, Magellan's cousin.
Skeet.
Who was even
I mean,
less...
it depends on how good a friend. If you're friends with him, he's Skeeter. If you're very good friends with him, Skeet.
Yeah.
The thing was the crew cried nepotism, you know, which is true. You know, it was his cousin, and he was even less experienced than De Coca. So
kind of like the whole Trump administration.
The entire fucking thing.
Well, and Magellan just needed people that were loyal to him. You know what I mean?
Like the Trump administration.
Yeah, exactly. The thing was, though, is there was a really unfortunate incident. So there was a longboat going between the boats at night, and they were passing mutinous messages. And the thing is there's like a nocturnal current in this area, and they're like, oh shit, and they like slid helplessly into the Trinidad. Like the boat just went to the Trinidad. Yeah. And they're like, what are we gonna tell him? What are we gonna tell him? And so Magellan's like, come on up, guys. And he gives them a bunch of wine and a bunch of food. Yeah. And he's like, so what's going on? And like they get all fucked up and they go, dude, there's a mutiny happening. And if it goes off without a hitch, we're going to kill you tonight. And Magellan's like,
oh, word.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. So, meanwhile, Mendoza freed Cartagena. Cartagena retook San Antonio with 30 others. They they put charcoal on their face, you know, so they could be like quiet in the night, you know. They took it over, and
I'm sure later on when the news of that came out, they all lost their jobs.
Yep. That's what I was thinking too.
Incredibly racist.
They put Mesquita in chains, and they actually killed their bosun. Oof. The bosun was trying to warn Trinidad by like lighting smoke signals and stuff, and one guy just went like, "We shouldn't be impeded by this fool," and he stabbed him and killed him. You know.
And so these smoke signals were unrelated. I was sending a message home to my wife.
Well, I mean, you would think with a name like Mesquita, they would use him to smoke all of the meats because
nice.
Yeah.
He had all the wood chips.
Exactly.
The wood is what makes it good.
He was Pinocchio. That's what Pinocchio was based off of.
Yeah. They made him lie first, so they have no firewood.
I got no strings to hold me down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mendoza, Cartagena, and Quesada offered a list of demands to Magellan.
It was written on the palm of their hands.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we got to go back to Spain. We got to go back now. There's no strait. We're going back.
Mm-hmm.
And Magellan's like, hey man, I'll listen to any of your concerns. Come and meet me on the Trinidad, of course, and we'll talk about it. And they're like, ha, no, we meet on the San Antonio, where all of our guys are at.
Where the Spurs are.
Yeah. And Magellan said, okay. And they're like,
What?
really? He's like, yeah, okay. And so they're like, all right, we got him boxed in. We got 3 of his 2 ships around him. You know what I mean? There's no way out for him. Well, the thing is remember the Santiago is still neutral, and the Victoria is actually less defended. Right? So he goes, okay, well, we still have to take care of Concepcion. So we got to play this super quiet. So he sends over some carefully hand-picked guys in a longboat. He goes, like, put on some of their clothes, and hide weapons underneath.
Yeah.
They're, like, loose-fitting clothes. And they go up, and Mendoza is there. They're like, here's the message from Magellan. And Mendoza, according to Pigafetta, Mendoza read it carelessly. That's what he says. The way I sort of pictured it is that he laughed, because they say he laughed the entire time while reading it, but he was like, I'm Magellan, like kind of like that, and like laughing and being like,
there's a strait somewhere around here.
That's what you sound like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was Magellan's alguacil, and an alguacil is sort of like the military representative of the Spanish crown. So it's kind of like a sheriff, sort of, right?
He's the sheriff in these parts.
Yeah, and Mendoza was leading this group. Espinosa was leading this group. And so when Mendoza was doing this, Espinosa just takes out a dagger and stabs him in the neck. And then all of a sudden, like, all their guys, like, throw off their, like, loose-fitting clothes and they're all armed. And they're like, who are you for? And they're like, well, the King of Spain. And they're like, and Magellan.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I'm Magellan too. So now they've secretly taken the Victoria.
Yeah.
And Mendoza's dead, right? And they're like, okay, so what we got to do is we got to take the Victoria and the Santiago, and we're going to take the Trinidad, we're going to put it in between the rest of the boats, right? So there's the rest of the boats back here, and then the Santiago, Trinidad, yeah, so...
It's like a boat sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. So what they do is they take these boats alongside the Concepcion, but before they were going to do that, Magellan sent out a guy to cut their line that kept them to the coast.
Oh, their sweet zip line.
Yeah, so they
Nice.
they chopped it, and so like they started just drifting towards the other ships, which kind of gave them a pretense to attack.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are we dragging an anchor? What the hell is going on here?" And all of a sudden, they're surrounded. They have a ship on either side, and they're boarded. And they're like, "Oh shit!" And Quesada, he's like, maybe we shouldn't have done this. Like he's getting like pains or regret.
Guys.
The Tigers are playing tonight.
Yeah.
Never miss a game.
And it was mainly bloodless. And Quesada, he tried in vain to try to make Concepcion get out of there. Didn't work. Once they had the Concepcion, Magellan sent another message over to San Antonio, to Cartagena, saying, hey, so we have all the ships, so you gotta surrender. And Cartagena's like, what? How the fuck did he pull that off? So he surrendered. And he wanted mercy from Magellan, and...
How'd you do that? Was it magic? No, it's Magellan.
Nice.
There you go.
So Magellan appointed Mesquita to be the judge over this mutiny trial that they were going to have.
Kangaroo court.
Yes, indeed. Because, again, Mesquita was put in chains, right? Well, Mesquita found over 40 people guilty of mutinous acts.
I mean, that's probably realistic.
The thing is you can't run a ship if you're going to just you know,
you need to
sentence 40 people to death.
Who's gonna like fucking twist the main line and fucking tie up the fucking Massey gangplank?
Right, and it also really didn't help that they were all wearing shirts that had just a really thin blue line.
Including, though, the voyage's cosmographer, San Martin.
How are they going to get their hair done if they kill him?
Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking. Their makeup's going to be all over the place.
That's true.
But he was sentenced to undergo the strappado. Have you ever heard of the strappado?
No. Like the stripping? The stripping?
No.
Is that what that means?
No.
If memory serves correctly, the strappado is a really intricate sex move that involves an audience and at least 3 boats.
And after
well, you're right
done,
about the boats and you're right about the audience.
And you're right about the fact that sex is involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And afterward, you're going to be singing strappado.
Hey.
Yes.
It sounds like it's a type of,
Opera.
Yeah, it's not. But anyway, it was a favorite thing to do during the Inquisition.
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah. Now, there's degrees of the strappado, okay? The first degree is where they tie you up, and they go, so, you're gonna undergo the strappado. You're gonna confess? Are you gonna say you're sorry? And then, of course, they say no.
This is absolutely... I was saying, it is a sex move. So step 1 is humiliation. And a lot of people get off on that.
Okay.
Zach's like, this is my birthday the last 3 years in a row.
So the second degree was they would pull your arms up behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so your arms are bound, your hands are bound, and they're behind your back. And they pull your arms up behind you and lift you off the ground.
So you look like a DeLorean.
Yeah.
That would hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Like, pull your... Yeah.
So they lift you off the ground for a second, then they set you back down.
I'm going to lift you up and put you back down a few times.
About 75 times. Longmont Potion Castle reference. And then, they were like, well, how about that? Still didn't have enough. They went to the third degree. Now, the third degree, they would hold you up for a longer period of time. Instead of just picking you up and setting you back down, they picked you up and then they held you there. And most of the time, your shoulders would dislocate, and it would probably break your arms. Okay?
Oof.
Both arms. And then they'd set you back down. And even then, there was a fourth degree. In the fourth degree, they'd lift you back up, and then they'd shake you up and down violently, making sure that those bones were broken.
Really get in there.
Making sure that your arms were thoroughly broken.
And the best part is you stand underneath and all the coins that fall out of his pockets, you get to catch. Whatever you catch, you get to keep.
Exactly. The old human pinata.
Yeah.
I didn't get any gold doubloons, but I did get a Jolly Rancher.
Gold doubloons. Now, in some rare cases, there was a fifth degree.
Jesus.
This is while you're getting shaken.
They light you on fire.
They tickle you.
And jerk you off at the same time, right?
Ooh.
And you come so hard in front of everybody. It's so embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
No, it's
There's
one.
babes
It's
there.
1 through. Yeah, there's 1 through 4, but there's babes there. But it's hella embarrassing.
No, the fifth degree, they tied weights to your feet
No,
to make you heavier, makes it even worse.
they're inventing Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. This is what they do on that. Yeah. Well, San Martin, he underwent the full 5 degrees of the strappado. And,
If you make it that way far, you get to go free.
well, and the thing is San Martin recovered.
Mm.
He recovered. And he actually returned to his duties as the voyage's cosmographer. Yeah.
So when he did return to his duties, was he kind of like Stretch Armstrong at that point in time?
He was definitely wary of Magellan after that. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah. His upper body strength was never the same, and everybody's makeup looked very silly.
Yeah.
All smudged, and hair.
They just couldn't get that smoky eye the same after that.
Yeah. Now, one man, it doesn't really say exactly what they did to him, but they say that all of his limbs were separated. Okay? We have no really idea what that is, whether he's broken on some sort of wheel, but the man that underwent this died from his wounds.
Yeah,
So-
no shit.
Yeah, it was bad, you know. Now, Quesada, he was sentenced to be beheaded.
That sounds downright pleasant
compared to the Strapato. Yeah,
Right.
some of these things. And his personal secretary, Luis Molina, he was also found guilty. He was actually given a choice. He goes, now you either die alongside your master, Quesada, or you wield the axe to kill Quesada.
Oh, I'd take the axe. Come
Yeah,
on.
that's what he did.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'd be
And-
like, oh,
I'm
awesome.
so sorry I have to do this. I really
He pretty
don't want
pretty
to.
much said that. He said, please, forgive me. You received none. No
Yeah, well,
forgiveness.
he's dead now, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
He's like, I am so glad you let me kill that guy.
Yeah. So in
He
full
didn't
view,
forgive me.
yeah, in full view of everyone, he chopped his head off. You know. Now both the bodies of Quesada and Mendoza, they were drawn and quartered. So pulled apart, and they slice you down the midsection, so your body pulls apart more easily.
Ta-da!
And
It's like pulled pork, just really tender and just pulls apart, like melts in your mouth.
Yeah, pulled long pig, I think, is what they would refer to it.
Yeah.
They just wanted to see what their crewmates were made of.
Let's see what these seamen are made of.
But the body parts were displayed on the ships as a warning to any other mutinous
Like the bodies exhibit.
idiots. Yeah, yeah, it's a warning.
Well, that was started as a warning.
Was it?
No.
Okay. There's a lot of weird shit around that. I don't know. I don't know the full thing behind that story. I know there's a bunch of weird shit around it,
Like, where'd they get all them bodies?
Where'd you get all those dead bodies from? Yeah,
Don't
that
worry
was the
about
big
it.
one. Now, the rest of the 40, Magellan commuted their death sentences to hard labor. And he started a massive cleaning project for all the ships. And this is also sort of a tactic to make sure that people don't have enough energy to become mutinous.
Mm-hmm.
So they took everything out of the ships, even the stone ballast. Remember in Shackleton, they put a stone ballast on the bottom of the ship. It's to really balance it.
Mm-hmm.
They took all that out, everything out, and they cleaned it down.
Gotta make sure it's
Exhausting
deep
work.
clean.
Okay, now I'm very happy that he's now pulling a Laffy.
Yeah.
You do a bad job, you clean in the fucking ship.
Yep.
Welcome to Sea Org.
It just makes me think. Remember in Lighthouse, the part where Willem Dafoe's like, if I ask you to pull every single nail out and suck it clean and put it back, you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, for the time being, Cartagena remained the last surviving mutinous captain. Because Magellan didn't want to put him to death because of his ties to Bishop Fonseca.
Right.
So he's like, oh, fuck. We'll just put him in chains and put him in, the brig, like in the bottom of the, bottom of the ship, and we'll just keep him there, But it wasn't long before Cartagena and a priest, the priest's name was Pedro Sanchez de Reina, were plotting against Magellan again. A third time Cartagena was doing
Third
this.
time's a
a
charm.
third time.
Right.
So Magellan couldn't let this stand. He needed Cartagena gone. And he couldn't kill him. So what do you think he did?
Promoted him.
This isn't Walmart.
I was thinking of that Seinfeld with the guy in the fatigues.
The guy in the fatigues. Yeah. They promoted him.
Yeah, I'm glad that he didn't fail upward like other people that I know.
Hey, I'm right here.
Hey!
Yeah, he didn't mean you.
No, if I were to take a guess as to what happened to him, I would say that he became the cabin boy that everyone got to have their way with.
No.
Especially the priest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and that's another thing. Magellan couldn't, in good faith, put a priest to death.
No.
Even if he was plotting against him.
Because a holy man and blah, blah, blah.
He's already friends with God, so...
So he chopped his dick off. He ain't using it. Or he shouldn't be.
At least he shouldn't be using it.
No, he marooned both of them on a small island. Like a rocky-ass... Like one of those, Essex islands that we were talking about. It's all rocks, there's trees, there's no water,
Oh, Elephant Island.
I mean, we are in the sub-equatorial region now.
Okay, so it's more like a rhino island, maybe?
Well, he left them there with enough supplies to get them through the summer. But after that, they're fucked. You know?
Did anyone ever hear from them again?
No.
Yeah, they died. I was really hoping that they didn't, and they like came back and avenged their themselves. You know?
Yeah, they like showed up at the last second.
Yeah, right before they get to the island, they're like they can see the red line, they're almost there, and the two guys show up again. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Count of Monte Cristo. They show up and they're like, "Ooh, it's this new rich guy in town, and he's got an even richer sandwich. It's kind of like French toast, but it's got ham and cheese inside."
Yeah,
But it's got Texas toast.
A little bit of powdered sugar right on top.
So Jerry, these Portuguese boats that are chasing them down, they're still in the mix, right?
They're still in the mix. But I mean, keep in mind, sailing, in caravels at this time, it ain't easy for them either.
Yeah, I imagine.
So they're not just plowing through. You know what I mean?
Especially all the mutiny on their end.
So I'm dealing with my own problems.
I got my own problems, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with this Magellan guy. Come on.
So their food situation was worrying, and they were like, you know what, we're going through food as fast as we can get it, and that's not a good sign. So what we have to do is we have to go south, storms or no storms, we gotta go. And so Magellan sent out the Santiago to go scout ahead. They found kind of a good place that had like a lot of food and wood, which was important, pitch is something you're always going to need for your ship. So they found a nice little place where they could kind of explore around it. It was a place called the Santa Cruz River, and Serrano actually named it that. And so they were kind of sitting in this sort of inlet. And yeah, there was all sorts of stuff. Actually, Pigafetta, he starts writing about some of these creatures that they come into contact with. He calls them sea wolves. And stuff.
Aww.
And they're like, sea lions.
Seals or like,
And sea elephants, too. Those big-ass motherfuckers,
Manatees or narwhals or...
No. Sea elephants. Those big-ass motherfuckers with, like, the big nose. And they, like, hang out on the beach and
they're just called sea elephants.
Yeah, that's
sea
what they're
elephants
called.
are the ones that have the flaccid penis. Like,
I know what you're talking about. I thought that was
Dan
like
Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble.
Yeah.
I've not seen that, but...
Yeah, he called them sea wolves, is what he called them.
Called those sea wolves?
He called all those things like
They're
sea
all
wolves.
sea wolves. Every last one of them. I got a guy over there on the beach. Sea wolf.
Yeah. You cross my path, you're a sea wolf.
Yeah. He also found something that, he describes them, but he actually thinks that they're geese. But he goes, they swim in the water, they live on fish, and they can't fly.
They can't fly, because I would have said airwolf.
It's a penguin. It's a penguin, is what it is. He thought they were geese,
Yeah. I mean,
Those are some pretty shitty
dope-ass
geese.
theme song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Airwolf.
Best TV show theme song. Well, second best. Third best. I mean, you got A-Team, you got Miami Vice.
You got Step by Step.
Hawaii Five-0.
Yeah, Hawaii Five-0.
Welcome to the old TV show podcast.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about the classics on a medium that kind of doesn't exist anymore.
On today's episode, we're going to be discussing MASH.
Yeah. Or My Three Sons.
Equally depressing theme songs.
Hey, you know what? Suicide is painless.
It brings on many changes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And my three sons all know of these ways. It was the same theme song, they changed like 4 words.
This theme to My Three Sons was even more about suicide.
Somehow. So, they're sort of looking around, but they decided, okay, let's head back to Port St. Julian and just report back. But as they were heading out, they hit a massive squall. Massive.
And he has that gun blade, like, dude.
Yep.
It's true, and it didn't help that he was in training with this guy Cypher, and now they both have matching face scars.
If you want to know more about that, watch the documentary Final Fantasy VIII.
Well, what happened was their ship was tossed and smashed against the rocks.
Yep.
So, like, they could straight up hear these, like, super sharp rocks, like, tear into their hull.
Yeah.
And it ran
Into their
aground.
hull.
Hole. Hull.
Into this boy's hole.
this boy's hull. The side of the boy's ship. So these rocks are just tearing into this boy's hull. Getting as deep as they can.
Oh, damn it.
Much like a Catholic priest at a playground.
Jesus Christ, you guys. We're going to let the public listen to this.
Our moms listen to this.
My mom listen. Yeah, both of our moms listen to this. Hi, Mom.
Well, they really fucked up then, because, like, they could have junctioned the ship with, you know, water on their defense, and then they wouldn't have to be taking as much damage.
Well, it was run aground.
I get it.
I'm glad you got that Final Fantasy VIII reference.
Okay, I don't play Final Fantasy. But
And you're wrong.
They ran aground and they got everybody off. And there's actually one source that says one person died. You guys, God.
Everyone
They're
was
tearing into that hole, and then everybody gets off. All right,
We're all like,
Off the ship.
you're like, no more sex stuff, no more Final Fantasy.
So
everybody gets off.
so Scythes.
Yeah. So they all survived except for maybe one person. But now the Santiago was gone.
Fucking trash.
So that whole ship was gone.
Good thing they killed all those 40 people or whatever. So.
Well, they didn't kill the 40 people.
They should
They
have.
killed some officers.
But they wish they were dead.
Yeah, now they do. Now, they're looking around, they're like, well, thank God we have some fish and whatnot to sort of sustain us, you know, shellfish and stuff like that.
It's a Mediterranean diet. They're going to live forever now.
Yeah, for real.
So they sent 2 men volunteer to go overland to Port St. Julian. And that is a harrowing journey through the mountains and the punishing sub-equatorial rainforest. There were swamps, like they were trying to like hug the coast so they could kind of see it better, maybe cut off a little bit of time, and like harsh terrain. There's a bunch of swamps in the way though, and they weren't able to get through there.
There's going to be so many snakes in there.
Dude, for 11 days these 2 guys fought their way through the jungle, subsisting off of like ferns and things. They're just eating ferns.
Did they see any snakes?
Probably.
Did they see any like leopards or?
Probably.
What are those really little deer that are down in South America?
Yes.
They're so
yes.
cute.
They saw them all.
They have them at the zoo.
I just really hope that they didn't
saw-
try peeing into the water, and then they got that little fish that
Swims
swims
up
up your pee hole. Yeah.
The Candiro.
Yeah, the Candiru.
Is that
That's
what it's
it.
called?
Yeah, this naughty little fish has a penchant for swimming up a man's urethra.
Yeah.
What's that?
Venture,
from?
it's a
Venture
Monarch
Brothers.
says that in Venture.
Oh,
Brothers.
okay.
Yes. Doc Hammer, if you're listening, hi, buddy.
He is. For
Pretty
sure.
awesome. So for 11 days, they went through the jungle, and they finally made it to Port St. Julian, totally emaciated. Even people that knew these guys did not recognize them at all. And so Magellan actually sent a party of like 20, 25 over the same overland route to go rescue the rest of them. And they had to be like, there was like a river in the way, they had to build a raft. And because they built the raft in the jungle, you know, and they didn't really know they had to do this, they could only ferry people one at a time across the river. So,
Not to mention, if they do one thing the wrong way, they kill one bug, it could have horrible effects in the future when they go back to... Wait, no, we're not talking about time travel. This is just regular travel.
Just regular travel.
Ah.
regular travel.
Okay, well then trash everything. I don't care.
But one thing they did decide is they're like, okay, well, that Santa Cruz area that you guys were hanging out in before your ship got all fucking smashed
Pretty
up,
cool.
that's pretty cool. So they moved the Armada down there. They hadn't seen anyone in a long time. And all of a sudden, as they're moving, they see what they describe to be as a giant
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
on the beach. And he was waving at them, and he was dancing around, and he was taking big, you know, handfuls of sand and throwing it in the air and on his head.
How they so
Just
do that.
throwing it on his head and like waving.
Giants, I mean.
Yeah. So Magellan sends out a guy in a boat, and he goes, just do what he does. Like, dance around and throw the sand in
That'll
the
probably
air.
help.
Put it on your head, you know?
Monkey
Put
see,
sand on
monkey
your
do.
fucking head.
Well, you know, like,
giant does
endear yourself to them.
Yeah.
You know, the giant turned out to be very amiable, so they brought him back to the Trinidad, and like they're giving him food and stuff, and they're giving him scissors and combs and metal stuff and bells, and he's like, all right, awesome. And
so I'm going to learn to be a barber who uses these bells as bait to catch tiny Quasimodos.
But tragically, he decided to run off the ship with the scissors in hand, and then he tripped.
Yeah. And stabbed it into his one eye.
Did we mention he was a Cyclops?
Yeah. I just assumed. And that's how Odysseus got away.
Yeah.
I mean, Magellan.
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden, more giants started to appear, including giant women.
Yep.
Ooh. And,
death by snoo.
No, dude, we're not doing the Amazonians yet.
That's further north in the Amazon.
We're pretty far away from the Amazon now. Yeah, we're on, like, the southern tip of South America
With
right
those
now.
little deer.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are.
No, the giants were said to be around 8 to 10 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, like, since scientists are like, no, they were probably 6 feet tall. Because Europeans at this time, they were around low 5 foot, high 4 foot. You know, they're short dudes.
Oh, wow.
All of them were pretty short.
We tower over them.
Yeah, we would tower over them now.
I'm pretty close to being a giant, and I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
Everyone says that
6'2".
I'm a
I would kick
manlet.
Magellan into the sea.
And just drop kick you for it.
Yeah. So these giants were definitely real, and definitely 10 feet tall.
And even Drake, Sir Francis Drake, he stopped here. And because he wanted to see Magellan's giant. Much later.
Yeah.
But he stopped here, and he went so far as to call Magellan and Pigafetta a liar. Because he's like, they're not fucking giants.
This is a bunch of regular dudes.
I think they straight up lied.
Well, some people have posited that maybe that first guy was actually a giant with, like, a pituitary disorder. No way of really knowing that.
They're like, let's just say they're all giants.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did. They actually gave him the name. The etymology is unclear, but most people agree that it was the Bigfoot Indians.
Oh. I thought you were going to say the New York Giants.
That was the original New York.
Yeah.
Was down at the tip there.
Sorry. I laughed at the word tip like a child.
Yeah, no, that's why I emphasized that.
But what that means, in what he would have called them, is the Patagones.
Patagonia.
It's what this area is still called to this day. It means big foot or big feet,
all those giants
large
that lived
feet.
down there
All
to
those
this
giants
day.
lived in Patagonia. Yes,
And they were more like 15 feet.
giant land. There was actually a book that was popular at the time that Magellan may have read, and that's why he named them that.
Man,
too, so
I am beyond disappointed the fact that they didn't refer to them as the Nephilim, because they did have a bunch of holy men and religious figures on these ships and people who believed in these texts. It's like,
right?
Hey,
Didn't they leave their only priest stranded to die?
It wasn't their only priest, but they did leave one stranded to die. Yeah.
And they'll do it again if you try to fucking call these guys Nephilim.
but what I'm trying to say is Nephilim are fucking rad, and I would love to meet one. So if you, listeners out there, if you happen to meet Nephilim or Nephilim folk, contact
or if any
us
Nephilim are listening.
at
Absolutely.
We love our Nephilim listeners.
Yes. We just want to get
0.
closer to God, and we want you to tell us the ways.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the Obscure Christian Mythology podcast.
Make us come, please.
Story for a different day. They were actually now I'm gonna butcher this one, guys.
Cool.
Tehulce tribe is what they were, and there's actually like a northern branch, southern branch. Some had horses at some point. Some had
The LA branch. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was Inglewood and
In the home office.
no.
That's in Houston.
Yeah.
yeah.
They're currently looking for an HQ too.
Yeah. Now, although Magellan had a strict no stowaway or no taken slaves policy, you can't just grab somebody and be like, he's my slave now.
Mine now.
Yeah, you can't do that.
He didn't have a no giants policy, and that was a loophole he created for himself.
He's like,
Exactly. He decided.
I'm keeping this giant. He's my guy. Like the movie My Giant.
Yeah.
Which is based on this.
This is based on Magellan.
The in-cruise film offerings were paltry, but they did have My Giant, and he was smitten by the friendship between George Mirasan and Billy Crystal.
Oh.
Yeah.
He died because his heart was too big.
Yeah.
Literally, he died.
literally.
It
because
literally was too big. He was actually quite mean.
he was a mean-spirited.
I don't think that's true.
No.
I feel bad saying that.
No.
But it was funny.
Nope, Magellan decided to kidnap 2 of them and take them back to the King of Spain and be like, check out these giants.
Like, it'd be easier to kidnap smaller people.
Yeah. Well, the thing is...
Throw a
when-
net over them.
You're
when
gonna get
he-
twice as many, though.
Yeah, that's true.
when he invited them on board, he's giving them, again, scissors and metal objects. And they're like, cool, we like all this stuff. And then, like, I just picture him just like, scissors,
Cool,
non-verbal, just waving them. Yeah. And then he picks up fetters, like chains.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah? And they're like, they don't know what they are.
They're like,
Clang,
hell yeah.
and they're
clang.
like, yeah, all right. And like, he's like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And they're like, they have no idea what they're for.
They're like-
And he like puts them on their legs, and they're like, uh-huh.
They're like,
Oh,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
cool.
Whoa, what's this fun
And
game
then he
we're playing?
slaps them on, and they're like, and he's like, is that cool? Is that okay? And they're like, yeah. And then once they realize, they're like, hey, we can't move. We can't go anywhere. Oh, shit. So they start screaming and howling, like, whoo!
Oh, they're
And
Bigfoots.
they're like,
Woo!
and yeah, really loud, and just really loud. And they're like, okay. So they take the fetters off, and they return immediately to land, And, like, they found, like, a cache of weapons. They're like, these giants might not be so peaceful,
We better kill them all.
Meanwhile, the giants are like, remember that one time we got on that boat and those guys were giving us all these fucking weird things, and then
try
they
to
put
date rape us.
yeah, then they put those things on us, and our house got small, then it got big again, and now we're home. That was weird.
It's like an alien abduction.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, this is a fun new game that they're trying to teach us. I think it's called Skip It? Wait, but I can't skip.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
And they all tripped and fell. Their single eye went into the scissors, every last one of them, and they all died. And their bones disintegrated, and there's no evidence of them. But they were real.
Turns out scissors are their one.
And they're still Cyclopses, as far as I'm concerned.
I actually forgot how to describe the way they looked. They were, of course, tall,
One eye.
no hair on their head, and they were painted white and like painted yellow and red and all over their bodies. No hair on their bodies is what they say. They tied their penis close to their body.
Yeah, to keep it safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I do the same
They
thing.
didn't know why. It's probably has something to do with the climate, living in the jungle and running through the jungle.
It was a delicacy
Yeah,
to
it keeps
predators.
flipping around in those on those ferns and
flip-flopping.
shit.
Yeah.
And I assume they were very long because they're giants. You know?
Yeah. That's really why they were called giants, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm still saying they're 10 feet tall. They all looked like Johnny Sins.
they're actually especially a tall population in the world. People, I guess, that live closer to colder climates tend to be taller and bigger because something about expelling heat.
Oh, yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, so like Scandinavians are generally tall, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, tell us more about these hairless babes.
That's pretty much it. They were painted and yeah.
It was a whole tribe of porn star looking motherfuckers who were 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
The plastic surgery did not age well.
Well, Pigafetta said that, like, we came up to his waist. To their waist.
Yeah,
that's like how
So
big
they're
they are.
constantly looking at their giant dicks, being like, "We get it, okay? You guys are packing heat."
This was these were Peter North's
Great
grandfather's Pedro South.
See, they only tied...
Pedro's.
Great. See, they tied their penises back only because they were like, oh, short people are coming. And last time that happened, we kept whipping them in the face when they were turning around. And they...
Turns out-
check this out, guys.
Turns out it's a social faux pas.
Yeah. We look like idiots, so this time let's tie them back.
Tie him back. Let's be respectful.
Let's not be like Mac knocking beer cans off the coffee table.
That was one time.
Yeah, I know, my big dumb dog.
He's a good boy. I love him.
It's a good boy. Just happy to see us.
Hey, join the Discord so that you can see more photos of Mac and all of our aminals. Aminals.
Yeah.
I got cats.
Yes.
Got a couple dumb old dogs.
I have a spaghetti cat.
You do.
So the amiable giant, though...
One was totally cool with getting chained up.
He stayed with them. Mm-hmm. He stayed on board, and he made friends with Antonio Pigafetta. And the craziest thing about it, he probably didn't know this at the time, but Pigafetta, he started making a phrase book. Like, oh, you say this means water, okay? So he wrote it down, like, phonetically. And he made this phrase book of, like, bread, water, sun, all this stuff. After a while, they could sort of understand each other. And this little phrase book is one of the most valuable scientific things to come from this voyage.
No shit.
Because it helps, future people, linguists. This is technically the first instance, a linguist. Mm. Because no one had really tried to deconstruct someone's language like that. And, like in that way. Yeah. Something that does not share anything in common with your language.
Yeah. That's very cunning of him.
Yeah. So it's really crazy.
Also, he was working on getting a backdoor pilot for the two of them started called Pigs and the Big Guy, where they solve crimes every week.
Pigs and the Big Guy.
Pigs and the Big Guy.
All right. Jake and the Fat Man.
Yeah,
I got
it. Where they spin off, they go on their own adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This started to happen when they were first crossing the Atlantic, but it was getting really bad right now. And what it was it reeks on these boats. Mm-hmm. Even after they cleaned it,
that
reeks.
giant sure wasn't helping. Wait, did he go with them?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. They have pigs and animals aboard, so it reeks.
Yeah.
Water is putrefying. Mm-hmm. It's still sort of drinkable if you're in a pinch, but it's putrefying.
It's like Fukushima drinkable.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
There's these bugs and weevils that bore through the hole into the hardtack. Oh, no. And so the hardtack turns into like a powder. And because there's bugs in it, there's maggots in it, there's lice. The ship was infested with lice.
Yeah, but that's more protein, baby.
And bed bugs. And cockroaches. And rats.
Well,
all the ships were infested with these things.
That all sounds like food, more food.
Delicious.
Yeah, and if you're going to complain about it, maybe you should bring it up to your landlord.
Magellan.
Yeah.
Look how things went every time that happened.
They had to choke back some of that nasty shit every once in a while. Not so much right now because they're catching a lot of fish. Right now things are good. But later, it's going to become even more of a problem.
They're like, I can't wait to eat that giant.
And that giant's like, I can't wait to eat all of you.
Yeah.
Then I'll be the captain.
Yeah.
I'm the captain now.
He swallowed Magellan whole and became the captain.
Yeah. Like a Kirby style situation.
Yes.
Yep.
He had a new hat.
Magellan's hat.
Yeah.
So the 18th of October, 1520, Magellan decided this is the best the weather was going to be. And he was right, because the weather's not great most of the time down there.
Mm. He was a realist.
Yeah. So they're going further south, and they're noticing that there's a lot of inlets. But they don't, because they're constantly sounding, and they don't seem super deep, and it's just like, okay, but it's around here somewhere, they think, So they're going around, and they see Tierra del Fuego. And the reason why they named it that, they named it Tierra del Fuego.
Because they lit it on fire.
No. They saw fires on the island, and they thought people were there. Mm-hmm. And these were giant bonfires. And so they called it that. The fires were probably caused by lightning. Mm-hmm. Or some natural... Most people think it's natural...
Phenomenon.
Some kid with fireworks.
Yeah, a kid with some bottle rockets.
Perhaps a music festival, given the time of year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is summertime down here.
Yeah. The giant burning man, if you will.
There you go.
Aye.
But then they found whale bones.
Oh, cool.
Washed up on the shore. And this was a really good sign because that meant that there's some sort of migratory path that passes by here. And they're like, oh, okay, this is a really good sign.
Now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah, and then the waters got real dark, and they started to churn.
Oh, in
this real weird way. Almost like two oceans were meeting.
For the first time.
Yeah.
What a concept.
It's like meat cute.
Yeah, it's like
So,
the chocolate ocean, the peanut butter ocean.
yeah.
Dogs get twisted up, and the people, leashes.
The leash.
And they're like, oh, how embarrassing.
There's a guy with a plank, and he's turning around because people keep calling him, and he's knocking people over.
Those people have very serious concussions.
And you keep on asking him if he's doing it on purpose, and he's like, no, but you're looking at him in the eye, and it seems kind of like he is. He's got a
he's not
smirk.
that dumb.
You can see him slowly turn his
curly.
head back and watch himself hit people in the head.
Yeah, right before
Check that
contact, he
motherfucker.
speeds up.
And then he's
He whips it around.
like, are you sure? It's like, I'm not doing it on purpose, but you better not want me to turn away from you, boy.
How did
He's a
we
child.
get to this?
Obviously played by Mike Myers back in
He's like,
1997.
you bum looker. With his drawings.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe this was it. Maybe this was the strait they were looking for, because the waters were churning, but it was wide. It was super wide. There's no real reason why the water should be doing this. So they're like, I think this is it. Now Magellan thought that it'd be a single channel and it'd go straight through.
Yeah, easy
Sure.
peasy.
No.
Uh-oh.
What he found was a maze. A maze.
Oh, I thought you were going to say amazing.
I thought you were
No.
like, it was Charybdis, the churning water monster from the Odyssey.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got the
Odyssey was-
Cyclops.
Way before
Yeah.
that, man.
Yeah, but I mean, the stuff's still there.
I'm surprised that you didn't try to call it Magellan's Labyrinth. Because, there's the giant, and soon they're going to meet the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a Minotaur. When's the Minotaur getting?
Yeah.
Soon.
He's like this labyrinth. I'm calling it Magellan's Labyrinth, and this giant, Magellan's Giant.
And this Charybdis, Magellan's Charybdis.
And this pencil, Magellan's pencil, this Magellan's wine. They're like, you can't just call everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dibs.
I'm the Captain General. I can do whatever I want, sir.
I'm the very major model of a modern Captain General.
Good job.
Hey, you did it.
But no, it was a maze of tidal estuaries and small islands. And what they had to do is they kind of took all the boats and they kind of probed different areas, right? Like he would send one boat to go do this, one boat to go do that. And his 4 ships at this point, they'd be like, oh, that's a dead end, and then they'd come back, and they're constantly sounding the water to see if it got shallower, if this was leading to a river. It was incredibly deep the entire time. So they're like, good sign, good sign.
Good.
Yeah.
This Magellan isn't a fucking liar.
Yeah, and so they were like, this is the strait. We're pretty damn sure this is the strait. Somewhere through here is how we get to the ocean, to the South Sea, or the West Sea, before they called it the Pacific.
I mean, he definitely still was a liar because he was looking at his crew in the face, being like, "Look at this giant," and he's like 5'6". Look at this giant I found as he brandishes a knife.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, it's real
Yeah, it's
tall.
great giant, man.
Yeah, because Magellan's like 4'11".
He could have been.
San Antonio's pilot, Esteban Gomez. And I really want to
Too fast for that guy.
Yeah, I really want to make a...
Absurd inside joke. I can't believe I referenced.
So Gomez thought that, he goes, okay, now that we've found the strait, guys, let's go back to Spain.
Let's not go too fast here.
Let's get better ships, more supplies, let's go back to Spain, let's come back. And Magellan's like, no, the deal is we go to the Spice Islands after the strait.
Gomez wants to slow down.
Yeah.
It's going too fast for him.
Yeah.
This whole thing is because Chris was drunk one time, and I was flipping through the video games to download on my Wii, and there's a game called Too Fast for Gnomes, and Chris goes, oh, Too Fast for Gomez. And we all started laughing because that's fucking hilarious. Meanwhile, we were balls deep in Breaking Bad. There's a character named Gomez, so anytime we saw him, we were like, oh, he's going way too fast for Gomez.
And I'm pretty sure he does after we saw that. He's like, whoa, guys, slow down.
Yeah,
we were like,
slow down.
I said it! You can't go
Yeah,
55.
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Well, it's not safe to go 55.
Anyway,
can't
we can
drive
cut all
55.
that, but that's where this joke is from.
I see. But Magellan, of course, Yeah, he said no. He said we are continuing to the Spice Islands. And of course they don't know how big the Earth is at this point. So they think once they get into the sea, it's going to be a couple of days,
right there.
couple of weeks,
yeah, dude.
till they're there.
In my experience, from what I understand, and I'm a man of science, you guys know this, the Pacific Ocean is barely a crick.
Yeah, it is a third of the Earth's.
It's so
Face.
tiny.
That's just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
It's fucking giant. It is huge.
It's pretty big.
You know, as Magellan's like making the boats go off and sort of probe these estuaries, the Concepcion and the San Antonio went down sort of a dead end. But they were supposed to meet back up at a certain place with Trinidad at a certain time. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and Concepcion, like, came back. But San Antonio never did.
And they never saw it
He
again.
found a wife and settled down.
I heard the San Antone got killed in the war.
No.
The boat just fades away.
Slips away in the mist.
Yeah, like the end of Stand By Me.
Yeah. Or somebody claps for Rudy.
Yeah.
And then it's the end.
Is that from Rudy?
That's from the hit film Rudy.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
It's the life story of Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. That time he tried to play football.
Yeah.
He fucks his cousin, gets real popular because 9/11, and then completely blows it being a crackpot. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
The hit film Rudy starring Sean Astin.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a young Rudy Giuliani.
Yes. Anyway. What happened, though, is that Gomez wanted to go back to Spain. And Mesquita, who was a Magellan loyalist, because it's his cousin,
Yeah, Skeet.
he said no. And they got into an altercation.
Oh, Skeet doesn't have his back anymore?
Well, they got into an altercation, and Gomez stabbed Mesquita in the leg. And, you know, he, like, yells out, you know, and then they put Mesquita in chains yet again. And,
You're going too fast for Gomez.
And Gomez takes command of San Antonio, their biggest ship, holding their almost all their supplies. They go back to Spain. They start heading back to Spain. And they have no idea, but Magellan's sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. And like San Martin, you know, he thinks he can see what's going on by reading the stars and the moon and everything. And he goes, "They're gone." They went back to Spain. And Magellan's, he was right, but, you know.
Magellan's like, lay off the hippy-dippy bullshit. They're going to be here any minute.
Mercury was like super deep into Capricorn and like I don't know in
Retrospect.
They fired the retro rockets and
in
off they went
retrospect
back to
Mercury
Spain.
was in fucking Capricorn
Yeah.
and it meant that they had gone back to Spain.
And
Yeah.
Leo was in Gatorade at that point in time.
Yes. Yeah. And
quenching their thirst.
Yes.
on the big game.
Yeah.
When they're needed the most.
At the big game when they need it the most.
So the disappearance of the San Antonio overshadowed the fact that one of the ships came back and said, "I found it. I found the ocean." And they're like, "No shit." So they went out there and they found a cape, what Magellan named Cape Desire, because they desired it so much.
Oh.
I would
On
have
the
named it
nose.
Cape Magellan.
Yeah, well, and during this time, everyone just called it the Strait. I forget who wanted to call it. I think it was San Martin. He wanted to call it the Strait of All Saints.
Oh.
And some people wanted to call it Strait of Victoria, because Victoria was the first ship that went in there. Years later, it was given the name Strait of Magellan.
Okay.
I would have given it the name Strait of the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Nice!
Tyrannosaurus
And he-
Rex, the most wicked dinosaur.
And he plays guitar with his tiny arms.
The Strait of Metallica.
Yeah. Strait of Pantera.
Bill Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we can legally put in the show.
Yeah. Otherwise, we get sued by their high-powered lawyers. When Magellan saw this cape and he saw the ocean, there was a rare moment where he expressed feeling in front of his men, where he outwardly wept. Because he finally did it. He
Strong
finally found
men cry too.
it. Yeah. Strong
man.
men also cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking A, man.
That's what it is. Fucking A, man.
Fucking A. Mind if I do a J? Yeah. So now, it was smooth sailing to the Spice Islands, right? Wrong. Because again, they thought they were going to make it a couple of days, couple of weeks at most, right? Maybe a month or so. Couple,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of any specific ocean.
Yeah. And again, considering they didn't know how big the world really was, they just really didn't have any idea what awaited for them in the vast and empty, profoundly empty Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that the ocean is unforgiven too?
Yes! None of them had any idea that they were sailing into the mouth of madness.
Because nothing else matters.
Yes. And that is where we will leave you for part 3. Woo! Of the first circumnavigation of the globe.
Badass. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Magellan seemed to have kind of an attitude. Do you think that if he had some sort of gel insert in the base of his shoe, maybe he would have been a little more easygoing?
So he could be like more comfortable,
Yep.
and so he could maybe even having a way of expressing how good he now feels
Because of the gel insole?
Yes, by maybe making shortening a word and doing like a play on words where he goes like, I'm doing good because of these gel
Dr.
insoles
Scholl's gel
I put
insole.
in, and so he might say something like, I'm
doing all right.
gelling.
I'm Magellan and I'm doing all right.
Yeah, due to the gel insoles
Due to
in
my gel
shoes.
in shoes. And it would be totally fair for you to say those gel insoles sounds a lot like the end of your name.
Yeah.
If you were to rhyme it, if you were to say Magellan, and let's just say, for sake of argument, that you are also gelling because you have the insoles, and he was like, I like where you're going with this, you get a raise.
Yeah. You're a captain now.
Yeah.
You get a raise, and you're gonna get the Scuglione or whatever it's called, where we put you up on the pole. We're gonna raise you until your arms break.
Strapado.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by raise.
Yeah, we're going to raise you
We're
up.
going to raise you up so you can stand on mountains.
Because I want everyone to think I came up with the term gelling. Yeah. Nice. So
Shush, Groban.
he needed gel insoles.
He did.
Yeah.
That's really what...
That's
what his whole deal was.
That's the whole point of this podcast, brought to you by Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah, walk around comfortably, folks.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
you're on your feet all day.
You're going to ruin
Okay.
your back that way.
World's opening up. We're all getting out there. We're walking
Your
around
feet-
a lot more than we used to. You gotta have
Your feet hold everything
arch
up.
support. You can use the Dr. Scholl's machine where you put your feet in. It
Yep.
tells you what level of gel insert that you need. I use a 9.5.
Yeah.
A. And
Hey.
it gives me
Mr. Fancy Man over here. All right. That's pretty cool. I'm just proud. That's all. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
I'm proud of my friend for actually doing what he needs to do
Yeah,
in his life,
you know,
making his life better and happier.
You got high
You get a bit of a
arches,
lift.
low arches.
Yeah.
We got a gel insert for you, gang.
I just want to thank
from
you
all
guys.
of our friends down at Dr. Scholl's.
Yes.
They'll keep you gelling even if you are a felon.
Yeah.
It's all
Yes,
good, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have. If you're a felon, you can't vote or buy a firearm, but you can, in fact, purchase Dr. Scholl's gel inserts.
I don't know if that's true. I think that felons, they have to be sent these.
Yeah.
Unless they've already been released from prison.
Well, I mean, if you're a felon, you're probably borderline unhireable, so you might turn back to a life of crime to get the gel inserts.
And if you're running from the police,
You're gonna need the support.
You're going to need the support that you need.
yeah.
The arch support that you need.
I mean, NWA did write a song about it called 100 Miles and Running, and I think it was sponsored by Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah.
Well, that song is
It was a
actually
corporate
about,
album.
No, that song is actually about plantar fasciitis. So, protect your feet. You're on them all day. It helps your knees. It helps your back. Your feet are the first thing to hit the ground when you get out of bed.
And you have to remember,
So protect them.
remember, Dr. Scholl says your back is your strongest muscle. Protect your back by protecting your feet.
But Dr. Scholl's also says that the biggest erogenous zone is the brain.
I thought you were gonna say
you
the
go.
foot.
Second.
I mean, there's nothing like the big toe in the butthole.
It's a
I
second.
thought you were going to say the...
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because that's what we're talking about. And if anything, Chris was like, "Fuck, I should have said the foot."
There was silence after that.
Send any and all feet pics to HistoryBoiz Podcast
Oh,
at gmail.com. courtesy to
Chris Whedon.
Chris Dr. Scholl's Whedon. All right. Anyway.
I don't want anybody to know that I'm secretly Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah.
It's a like Mr. Hyde situation.
Yeah, you drink a potion to become Dr. Scholl's.
Well, no, I drink a potion to become Chris Whedon.
I have to drink it constantly.
Yeah.
He has to drink the gelatin from the Dr. Scholl's gel.
I thought it was just booze.
Yeah, I thought it was PBR.
He's just boozing. Otherwise, he's a doctor.
What do you think's in the gel? It's booze.
It's just gin.
That's the other thing, man. It's like if you're really stressing, you could just pop them fucking gel insoles open and just drink them down.
You might just be good with the gel. You don't even need the insole.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, who's all here? We got Dr. Scholl's.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I am, of course, your humble, foot doctor, whatever they call those fucking assholes.
Podiatrist.
Podiatrist.
Isn't it? Aren't those the ones that they diddle kids?
No.
I'm Christopher Whedon, and
That's a pedophile you're thinking of.
you Philistine, and I'm Christopher Whedon, and I am a history boy.
I am Tyler Armentrout, formerly Giorgio Van Grelden, and I am also a history boy.
This is June 2021's Cartography Monthly's centerfold Zach Meck, also a history boy. And I love you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I, of course, am Jerry Nash, your humble history boy. Thank you so much for listening to us yet again. We love you so much, each and every one of you, all of our listeners. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. We also have a Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And on Patreon, there are different levels that you can see when you go there. But the thing is you can get bonus content from us. You can join our Discord for as little as $1 a month and actually talk and interact with us. And you can join all of our Beers at the Boys, which happens every month over Discord, where you can ask questions about episodes we have done. We can joke around. It's a party that you're missing out on. Honestly, Beers at the Boys is so much fun.
Speaking of Patreon, I got a couple announcements to make.
Oh!
Pam, 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 pam.
I'm already on my phone, guys.
My nipples are so hard because we have a couple shout-outs that we have to make.
All right.
I wish I remembered.
Yeah. So, number one, we got a shout-out to new patron pal, Amara.
Amara! We love you.
Love you, Amara. Love your
you so
garden.
much.
Yeah.
Your garden's...
Love talking to you in the chat. It's always a treat.
Yeah.
She showed us our her garden. She showed everyone her
Mom's
garden. It was great.
Yeah.
It's not a euphemism.
Very impressive garden, I might add.
It's, yeah. Absolutely.
Squash.
The weirdest squash I've ever seen in my life.
For real. Also want to give a big shout out to David. David. And I know Tyler's your favorite history boy, so maybe Tyler has something awkward to tell you real quick.
I want to go to Phoenix, Alabama, and go to the Stomping Grounds food truck situation. I did a little bit of research about the town you live in, okay, David? And
way to get fucking creepy.
I'm gonna corner you because I know where you.
Oh no, I'm gonna show up, take a picture from the food trucks, and then I'm gonna fly home, post it on the Discord, and you're gonna be like, "What? You didn't even say hi."
See, I thought you were gonna just take pictures of the outside of his house and send them to him without anything.
We're the History Boys, not the creepy creep show dudes.
Well,
That's Joe
that's
Rogan.
dancing the line, my friend. You're like, I'm in your house.
yeah, covered in lotion.
What was that movie? I'm in your house.
Oh, that's Lost Highway.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're never gonna
me.
enter your house unless we're invited. Because we are vampires.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much for writing in, getting on the Patreon and the Discord, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll see you at the Beer at the
I have a
Boys.
quick shout out, Zachary, friend of ours, friend of the show, Danny, He's actually requested a couple episodes that we have done.
Goddamn right. Good on you.
Danny now has his own podcast. We've all listened to it, and we're all big fans of it. I really enjoyed it.
Danny, we're so proud of you.
Yeah,
You're growing up.
It's called
Catching Up with Danny and Mike. Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking fantastic.
It's great. Go check it out,
There's
guys.
one episode out, and I loved it so much I was weeping at the tip of my dick. It was no, seriously, I thoroughly enjoyed your guys' content. Go and listen to this
You
shit.
need to go to a doctor.
That's what my wife says too, but I'm uninsured.
Yeah, well, it's America, so yeah.
Yeah, Catching Up with Danny and Mike. First episode's out. Get out there, listen to it. It's fantastic. You'll be in on the ground floor checking out those guys.
Yeah.
And the last shout out that we are making today is to the one, the only Schwa.
Schwa, I love you. You're a great guy.
Schwa's
Such a good
nice
dude.
guy.
Yeah.
Schwa is
dude.
pretty rad. I love him to
him.
pieces. I've known this motherfucker for way too long.
You've known him for a long time.
Yeah,
I've known him for like a year.
but I love him to pieces.
I think longer than that, but I don't fucking know. Who knows anymore?
It's been a
Time
while.
has no meaning. COVID. Time died of COVID.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a flat circle. Thank you again, Schwa, for signing up on the Patreon. It's fucking rad that we're having you.
That's awesome, Zach. You know what to do.
Love you. Bye.
We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't, whatever.